Hello, Falcons and NFL fans. Welcome to another Saturday, sunny Saturday where I'm at. I don't know how things are going where you're at, but welcome to another episode of Jackson Pigskins. I'm Tom Pollen, along with Wanda Weidman, who taking
Hey, everyone. Good morning.
but she's here today. Yep. Good to have her back. We even got a comment already.
Rise up.
It's time. Yeah. You're going to see a lot of those when the season starts for the Falcons, believe me. So, but last week we broke down what the Panthers accomplished during the offseason. I was not impressed. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, Wanda, but
Yeah, I did. I was not impressed either.
no, I think they bring up the bottom of the NFC South again.
Yeah.
So, but today we're going to continue looking at the Falcons' rivals, what they've done, how have they improved on their 2023 teams. And today it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints, the two teams that tied at the top of the division last season. Tampa went to the playoffs. The Saints fell short, got edged out by the Green Bay Packers. Boo. Anyway, we want to see, run down those two teams and see what they've done this offseason and what changes they've made, both for the better and for the worse. And give it an idea if the Falcons match up well against the two teams heading into 2024. But before we start the discussion, the show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks, and they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. So get free money to make your first player prop bets with. And my Falcons player prop for 2024 out of Prize Picks. I've been giving you player props every week. Oh, by the way, if you want to keep going on football, they got CFL. And, well, I guess the summer football is over, but they do have CFL going and MLB. And for the Falcons player prop for the 2024 season, Drake London, wide receiver Drake London at 6.5 receiving touchdowns.
He's going to have a year.
He's going to have a year. I agree with you. I think with Kirk Cousins firing the ball, Drake London, I think he's got a good chance at a Pro Bowl year. I really do.
I totally agree. Yeah.
So another one you might want to take advantage of, but sign up for Prize Picks. Get matched up to your first $100 of your first deposit and catch up with some pretty good, pretty advantageous Falcons picks going into 2024.
All right.
But before we get going into this show, start looking at the teams, want to extend our condolences to the family of longtime NFL defensive coordinator Monty Kiffin, who passed away a couple days ago. One of the great innovators in the game, one of the great defensive specialists the game has ever seen. So helped Tony Dungy bring the Buccaneers to a Super Bowl championship. Was one of the architects of the
cover two.
Couldn't think of it for a second there, but which a lot of coaches made a living off of, made a pretty good living off of. off that cover two, especially coaches that made stops in Tampa and moved on.
Yeah.
But the cover two being revolutionary because you were kind of letting teams give up yardage, but you were making a bet that your opposition could not drive the ball 80 yards in 10 to 12 plays without making a mistake.
Right.
And that's what the cover two was.
Right.
It wasn't a defense to shut down an opponent. It was saying, okay, let's see if you can make the perfect drive against us.
Yeah.
And if you can't, we're going to stop you.
Yeah.
If you can, well, you get the touchdown. That's fine. We'll go on from there. But, a really revolutionary concept. There's Zozo. Zozo's making an appearance today. Zozo, what are you doing? Can't look out the window right now. Well. Anyway, so I don't know anything you want to say, Wanda, anything you want to wrap up with Monty Kiffin. Just a very...
I mean, you hate seeing some of these guys who are legendary in the NFL and what footprint that they leave in the league. And, Monty Kiffin really did leave quite a footprint, and he will be missed for sure. But, taking what they brought into the game and changing the game forever is something that we can appreciate as fans in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Teams don't run the cover two exclusively anymore, but it's still a part of the NFL's defensive arsenal.
Exactly.
So, you're always going to see variations of it moving forward.
Yeah.
So, again, condolences about Monty Kiffin, and coached all the way up to his final days. He was still working.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the man was still working.
Yeah.
So,
that is crazy. That is crazy.
Hey, Wallace, good to see you. Oh, what's going on, Mr. Tom, Miss Wanda?
Hey, Wallace, good to see you, man.
See ya. We're doing well. Good Saturday. Great day to discuss the Falcons' rivals.
Yeah.
Going to get into that, starting with the NFC South champions last season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who amazingly were 11th in my power rankings. The Saints were 6th, but the Buccaneers were the ones who made the playoffs. So
amazing.
Only 3-7 in games against teams that finished the season over 500. Saints were not above. Also, he had a bad record against teams that finished over 500. Amazingly enough, the Falcons were 5-4 against teams that finished the season over 500. The Falcons could not beat the bottom feeders. That was where they ran into problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, you beat the bottom. The key to winning in any sport is running 500 against the best teams in the league and beating the crap out of the bottom feeders.
Yeah.
And the Falcons did the first part of that last year. Could not take care of the second part of that. Couldn't beat the bottom feeders. So we'll see what they can do. Buccaneers beat the Eagles 32-9 in the wild card game, lost the division round to the Lions 31-23. One of the things that stood out to me as far as looking at my statistics for last year, the Bucs on offense, not very special. As far as points per yard gained. Only managed a point every 15.3 yards gained, which means it took them 107.1 yards to score the equivalent of 7 points, which was 16th in the NFL. On defense, they averaged 18 yards per point scored, second in the league. Opponents had to drive an average of 126 yards to score the equivalent to 7 points.
Wow.
That's making an offense work very hard.
Exactly.
So, and it's amazing because most of their stats are kind of average. Didn't really distinguish themselves in a lot of singular stats. Net passing yards per attempt, they were 23rd. Passer rating, they were 22nd. 3.8 yards per rushing attempt was actually last in the league, 32nd in the league.
Wow.
In yards rushing per attempt, which, considering that they have Rashad Wright, gained 990 yards last year, but had to carry the ball quite a bit to do it. And it's not effective. I don't care if a guy gets 1,000 yards. His average rushing yards per attempt was 3.6. That does not get it done in the NFL. So close to 300 carries, but didn't get 1,000 yards for Rashad White. But let's go on. One of the things I found going into the Bucs is this is an organization that when they draft a guy, when they identify that this is a guy they want to draft, they keep him. They draft talent, and they keep those draft choices on the team. All right, 20 players who took a snap for the Bucs last season are gone. They have 35 team drafted players out of 40 returning in 2024.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
It is. It is.
Just, a team that identifies what it needs, what it wants. And once they get those guys in, finds a way to keep them and elevate their play.
Yeah.
And the fact that they still have 35 team drafted players on their roster heading into 2024 is just amazing. I didn't do the research, but I don't think there's another team that can match them. So it's a formula for success. It's the way you do business.
Yeah.
Find the guys who are going to develop with you. Now, they lost guard Aaron Stinney, who played 13 games, 11 starts. Lost Shaq Barrett, but did not play well last year. So, Shaq Barrett's been battling injuries and played 16 starts last year, but only had 4.5 sacks. My main question about the Buccaneers this year, and this used to always drive Dave crazy, is Baker Mayfield. Because I would come on board and I'd see Baker Mayfield play a couple of great games, and I'm like, Baker Mayfield's finally showing what he can do in the NFL. Then he would fall apart. He had a decent season last year. But what do you think we can expect out of Baker this year? What does he give you? Does he continue playing decent enough to keep the Buccaneers in the playoff hunt?
I think if he just continues with maybe possible consistency, playing on and consistency with his with the receivers and the playmakers that he has, he may develop that rapport that he needs to with his offense. So I think that's a plus for him to show what he can now do in the league. He wasn't set up for success in Cleveland. That was obvious.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't set up for that. But when he just played that small stint in LA, and he showed what he could do when he's given a good plan and players behind him, being that you have coaches that now he was under and will be under from the McVay tree. I think that's gonna keep him consistent. So I don't see much of a change for the following year, but maybe possibly that continuity and relationship with the offense.
Yeah. Because he used to drive me crazy because I would say, okay, he'd have about 2 or 3 games that were great. And I'd say, Dave, Baker Mayfield is showing what he can do. This is, and then he would have a month where he was completely just off the rails. And finally I told Dave, I said, I've done with Baker Mayfield. And here he throws for 4,000 yards last year.
Right.
I'm like, I am done trying to pick games with Baker Mayfield, trying to say that Baker Mayfield can win against this opponent. And it drives me crazy. He's one of those players that I can never get a handle on. But he does have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Kate Otten coming back this season. And if you can't succeed with Evans, Godwin, and Otten coming back, it's you can't succeed with anybody.
Right.
So it's really something because I do think he can keep it up with those guys. He still makes plenty of mistakes. Still turned the ball over quite a bit last year, but he had, I had this looked up, 10 interceptions and how many fumbles? 8 fumbles. So still turns the ball, but he's got the benefit of a great defense too.
Yeah.
As I say, offenses get yards, can drive for yards against Tampa Bay. They have trouble scoring against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is vulnerable as far as giving up yardage, but try and put the ball in the end zone against them, and it's a different story.
Right.
So that does make a difference. Yeah, and you made a great point, Wanda. They got Liam Cohen now is their offensive coordinator, replacing Dave Canales, both off the Sean McVay tree.
Right.
And it's amazing how young Sean McVay is and how many coaches have come off that Sean McVay coaching tree.
I know, right? It's crazy.
Bill Belichick coached for ages, and his coaching tree's a stick.
Oh my gosh! Seriously, the whole disaster out of Josh McDaniels, in Vegas. So, that is a great point because McVay obviously knows how to choose and pick his coaching staff for success.
Yeah.
But Belichick, as brilliant as he was, his tree wasn't as successfm as you would think it would be.
No, actually not. Joe Judge was terrible. Was the defensive coordinator. Patrick was terrible in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
Just guys, and it tells me McVay knows how to delegate. He lets his coaches coach.
Yes.
And it tells me that Belichick really did not let his coaches coach a lot
Yeah.
because they weren't ready when they got out on their own.
Right.
But McVay lets his guys coach, and I see no reason to believe that the offense is going to run down with Liam Cohen taking over for Dave Canales. Whether or not Dave Canales can be an offensive coordinator, he's got his work cut out for him in Carolina.
Yeah.
His job is to get Bryce Young going.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Which Frank Reich failed at, and
yeah,
but they also 4th round draft choice. Bucks took Jalen McMillan out of Washington, so they expect to have a strong receivers group again this year. And again, my point: Mike Evans was looking around as a free agent, came back to Tampa.
Yeah.
Tampa keeps their draft picks. Tampa keeps their guys.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference. They've also drafted Chris Braswell in the 2nd round to take the place of Devin White, who went to Philadelphia. And 1st round pick Graham Barton at guard should immediately contribute. So they took advantage of their draft too. Very, interesting how they have done replacing players that they let go. But I looked at it on SpotRag. About half of their guys who were free agents actually came back to the team. This organization does things right. If you're going to copy an organization in the NFL, I think one of the ones you are looking at is the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Can we do things as well as the Buccaneers?
Very true.
True. So let's take a look at some of the comments. We've gotten a few comments in. Let's see. Wallace Smith said, I think it's going to be different this season with us having a better outcome. Wallace, I would say you're not going to lose to the Washington Commanders or the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Arizona Cardinals. Or, you're going to have a better chance at beating these teams with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback.
Yeah.
Because, they beat the Packers. They beat the Texans. They beat the Buccaneers in Tampa. So, the Falcons have played good football. Beat the Saints. But that's the thing is, I think the Falcons have really discovered how important that quarterback position is, and they got one, and that makes them an instant contender.
Yep.
So
exactly.
I agree with you, Wallace. Different pieces. Justin Farmer, even though we have some young pieces on defense, lost some key guys from defense, but I'm not concerned. Because of Raheem Morris, look what he did with the Rams defense last year. Yeah, Raheem Morris did do a great job with the Rams defense. And, you got to – I agree with you, Justin. You have to look at that. Also gave us look at Kirk's stats over the last 4 years. Look at Mayfield's stats over the last 4 years. Well, it's no comparison.
Yeah, exactly. None. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Kirk has been much better, much more consistent.
Yes.
You're going to get a bad game out of Kirk Cousins. But what you're going to get out of Kirk Cousins is the fact that the guy has seen everything. All right. You're not doing things at the line of scrimmage that fool Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
It's he knows when the blitz is coming. He knows what the hot read is. It's that kind of he's that kind of quarterback. He's been around. He's seen it all. That's kind of
he's got a really good consistent ball placement. So with the players that he has, you can guarantee that Drake London and Kyle Pitts, anyone else that they choose to throw the ball to, Cousins is going to get it right on the money. And if he doesn't, he corrects it and makes sure he gets it the next time.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle Pitts is thrilled to have Kirk Cousins. Hey, he is thrilled. Kyle Pitts can finally show why the Falcons drafted him.
That's right.
It's that kind of so, and Wallace, Kirk has gotten his team to the playoffs also, and they both have won a playoff game.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm thrilled that Kirk Cousins is going to be here. I still say the Falcons need an outside pass rusher. They need somebody to get to the quarterback, but I will die on that hill.
I know. I hear you.
I will die on that hill.
You gotta have a pass rusher. Somebody's gonna do that, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
Winning teams have pass rushers, and it's amazing. But let's move on. I think we spent enough time breaking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs are going to be tough. They are going to be tough competition for the Falcons this year.
Yeah.
If you can split with the Bucs, with one of the toughest teams in your division, that's a positive. That's going to put you that far ahead of the game. And then you get a chance to play the Broncos, the Seahawks that are going to have a problem with quarterback. Those are the kind of teams you got to go up and beat. The Raiders, the Giants. Look at this final month for the Falcons. And I know I'm kind of rambling here, getting off topic here, but start looking at how these teams do against teams above 500. They got the Raiders, Giants, Commanders, and Panthers in the final month. That should be a 4-game winning streak.
Exactly.
So, Wallace, for this season, we have to work with what we have and see what they can do with the group they have. I agree with you, Wallace. Can't do anything else with this team. You have to fight with the group you have.
Right. And you got to trust the coaches that they're going to do with what they can with this group.
Exactly. Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake, we got to see what they can do with this defense. So I wasn't thrilled. If you watch my draft day tape, watch my draft day video, I completely lose it.
I got to go back and watch it.
About the 59-minute mark.
All right.
When the Falcons are on the clock, and one of our regular contributors to the show gave me that he was feeding me the draft picks because I couldn't use my audio, and just completely
you lost it.
I lost it. I cratered.
That's funny.
So, Wanda, you did a lot of work on the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, so the Saints were the second in the division. They had a 9-8 season, and they had a new face under center, which was Derek Carr, coming from Vegas. So that was going to be a whole new thing. The Saints moved on from their OC Pete Carmichael, and hired Clint Kubiak for this new season, but retained their DC Joe Woods. Carr started,
because
he started the season with a 68.4% completion rate. He threw for 3,800 passes, which was almost 4,000, not too bad. Had 25 touchdowns, only 8 INTs. And however, he was sacked 31 times last season for a loss of 218 yards. And that puts him at the top 15 of those that were sacked last season. So that's something we hope that the Saints addressed in the draft and the off season. It's amazing how the Saints right now have 5 quarterbacks on the roster, 5 of them. But and they drafted Spencer Rattler. I was wondering where Spencer Rattler was going to end up. So he was there. They brought in Nathan Peterman, who was the 3rd string quarterback with the Bears last season.
How does Nathan Peterman continue to have a career?
He's like this journeyman, backup, goes everywhere, and he's got himself a whole thing. I don't know. What's interesting is Taysom Hill. Okay, so Taysom Hill was used as this hybrid quarterback and running back during the season with the Saints. But what's interesting is that they have, if you look at the roster, the Saints roster, their depth chart, they have Taysom Hill as the 3rd string quarterback right now, but they also have him as tight end in their depth chart. So what's interesting is listening to an interview that they had with Taysom Hill, they are having him more with his hands on the ground, giving him more of a fullback position, but also training him as a tight end. So it's going to be interesting to see now. You know how I am, Tom, about fullbacks. I am so thrilled that the fullbacks are coming back.
Yes,
they're coming back, and to see how they're going to utilize this role, I think that's a huge thing with Clint Kubiak and using the fullback. And so I think through Taysom Hill and OTAs, they started him out more in the backfield role, but also giving him some hybrid plays that they're going to incorporate as a tight end. So it's really going to be interesting how Taysom Hill is going to be used. He said he's excited about the change, and I don't think we're going to see Taysom Hill at all in a quarterback role whatsoever. But I also don't think that they're going to be putting in Spencer Rattler right away. I think the backup is going to be more with Hayner. I think it's Jake Hayner. So I think he's gonna be in that backup role. They drafted 7 players. The most obvious was the offensive tackle, Talise Fuaga. So they got him in the 1st round. And I think that's huge help for them.
Should be big help as far as keeping Derek Carr clean.
Exactly, which was really the big thing, is keeping Derek Carr clean in the pocket, being able to, because when Carr's clean in the pocket, he can throw that ball, and he gets him to his target. And when he's put off foot, he's all over the place. So I think this is going to really help him out. They also drafted wide receiver Bub Means, and then they addressed also another offensive tackle in Josiah Ezrim in the 7th round. Then they picked up several to help in the defense. So they got Kool-Aid McKinstry. I love that name. I think it's.
So do I. That's going to be.
I think it's an awesome football name, Kool-Aid.
Puka
At
Nicole was
corner.
my favorite name last year. Kool-Aid McKinstry has become my favorite name in 2024.
Yeah.
I love that name.
I think I love that name. You know, I had that one player who played for Green Bay, Clinton Dix.
Yes.
You know, and he also played for the Bears. You know, and
Yes.
then I was like, this interesting name. Now you got Kool-Aid, so I think that's going to be a fun to watch.
I wanted to see the Falcons draft Kool-Aid McKinstry in the second round.
I think that would have been great. Yeah. That would have been great.
Well, they needed a cornerback. I thought that might be perfect for him.
Yeah, he would have been great.
The perfect pick, getting McKinstry.
Yeah, I think so. I think he would have been a really good compliment in the backfield. But the Saints got him, and they also got linebacker Jalen Ford and defensive tackle Christian Boyd. So they kind of took care of that. They were 8th in the power rankings last season. And their win record was against the softer teams. So like the Titans, the Panthers, Patriots, Giants, Falcons, Bears, Colts. Those were all the teams were at a lower end where those were the ones that they won.
2-6 against teams that finished over 5.
Yes, exactly.
And
on defense, the Saints ranked.
I had them ranked 6th in my power ranking.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. They finished with a 23.6 points per game, 8th in the NFL. So I think ranking them 6th, I think that's pretty much on par. On defense, the Saints ranked 34th in sacks in 2023, but ranked 2nd in interceptions and 10th in passing yards allowed. So they also ranked 4th in forced turnovers with 29. So the defense was clicking. They just needed some other key parts. However, they struggled to generate a pass rush, and had numerous coverage breakdowns in the backfield, which was kind of bad.
And that's where I have my worries with the Falcons this year.
Yeah. Exactly. The key defense parts in their keys on the defense. Veteran Tyrann Mathieu, our Honey Badger, he still has it. He had 4 INTs last year and 50 solo tackles. Paulson Adebo, he had 4 interceptions and 60 solo tackles. And then Demario Davis had 74 solo tackles with 6.5 sacks. So they were getting up there in doing what they needed to do. They did re-sign free agents, safety Jonathan Abram and Hugo Amadi, as well as some offensive players, as in fullback Adam Prentice. They added wide receiver Cedric Wilson from the Dolphins, Stanley Morgan from the Bengals, EQ. I'm going to call him EQ. EQ Brown. They got him from the Bears, and EQ, even though he didn't play much as a wide receiver, he had a couple of catches and so on, but he's really good at blocking. So I think that's kind of where they're going to go with him, just because of who they have on the roster.
Keep him in front of Alvin Kamara and
so they have a sheet, they also got help at center when they signed the old veteran Lucas Patrick, who served with the Bears, and so they kind of got some help there. They did sign defensive end Chase Young from the 49ers. I'm on the fence with Young because, he did kind of, he did well when he was in the Commanders, had his injury, and then couldn't come back right. And paired up with Montez Sweat, they had a combination, but Montez was actually doing more of the work afterwards. He gets a stint over with the 49ers, did a little bit of work there alongside with Nick Bosa, but now he's over with the Saints to see what he can do there, and hopefully help out in that aspect, because they need a pass rush, obviously. So we'll see where he goes from there, and see how that works. They also signed Willie Gay, the linebacker position, and safety Jonathan Abram. At the same time, they lost several players. So they lost Jameis Winston, the offensive tackle Andrus P. That was huge. The guard Cameron Irving, and they cut Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Michael Thomas. That whole thing after his injury, that was just the kind of a sad slide, because he was such a good player.
Yes, he was.
I don't think he got signed anywhere, did he?
I don't think he has.
I don't think he got signed anywhere. So I'm just
I don't
curious.
think anybody has picked him up. Let me look that up real quick.
Okay, you look that up. I'm going to go on with they lost defensive tackle Malcolm Roach, defensive back or the cornerback Isaac Yedem, and defensive end Nathan Latu, and then linebacker Zach Bond. So there's quite a few players that they lost, but hopefully with the rookies, the undrafted free agents that they got, they're going to fill those holes that they need to get the defense where they need to go, and with the offensive players that they have on the roster, I'm hoping that you got your gosh, who am I thinking of here? Oh, Alvin Kamara. So with Alvin Kamara, I want to see more of him in the run game. They need to use him explosively and get him out there. Jamal Williams as well. Just kind of the run game, they need to pick up a little bit more, and have a balanced offense, I think, is huge. And I think with Clint Kubiak in there, I think there's going to be some surprise and a little bit more action in that offense. So I expect a lot with Kubiak in there, and seeing what he can do with that offense.
Yeah, I'm interested too. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to work.
Yeah.
Do you think, now going into the season, this has kind of been on my mind, Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, are they on their last legs? Is this their last chance to really show what they can do, both as a coach and as a quarterback?
Yeah, I agree. I think I would say Dennis Allen is on the hot seat if the Saints don't come out running and doing what they need to do, because I mean, honestly, they have the weapons. You have Chris Olave and A.T. Perry. You've got, and they just brought in these other wide receivers to help out. So they've got the weapons in receiving. They've got, like you said, with the running back Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams. I think they Adam Prentice at fullback, who they were getting, Jordan Mims even still that as I think he was still a rookie. He only had one season, I think, with them. So just seeing what he can do. And then you have Rashad Shaheed, who played really well when he was hot. He did really well for me when I needed those fantasy points. He came in good for me. And then with Taysom Hill, as they use him, whether it's going to be in that fullback position as well, they have the pieces on offense. And then tight end, if they're going to use him there, and then they've got Foster Moreau and let's see what, Jawan Johnson. So you've got some
Yeah.
great tight end positions. Horsted, they also re-signed, I believe. So you've got some key pieces. And
Right.
if they fix the offensive line like they needed to, those defensive pieces, the Saints could be competing and can surpass Tampa Bay if they use the right pieces there. And then in Kubiak's offense, if that really propels Carr to just let it rip. So
Right.
with that in a competition with Atlanta, even though in my opinion with Kirk Cousins in that position and the key pieces that they have, the Falcons can take that division. But like you, I have that concern with that not having that edge piece that they really could use. But again, we'll see what happens there, and it's all about who's the best. Who's going to call the best plays in offense, and is going to get their team to where they need to be.
Problem is the Falcons did not sign a cornerback either.
Yeah.
And they need help in the defensive secondary.
Yeah.
So, that worries me a bit too. But especially since they don't have anybody who can force the quarterback into mistakes. The quarterback can sit back and kind of look a little bit longer for that, for somebody to open up.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard. It's tough. AJ Terrell is a very good cornerback. However, as I always say, it's tough to cover receivers more than 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Because a good quarterback will find his guy. A good receiver will come back to the quarterback and make himself a target. So, that's why pressures have never impressed me. Or because you're telling me, yeah, they got pressure on the quarterback, but they didn't hit him. Didn't knock him down. He got away from you. You're not getting the negative yardage. You're not putting them behind the chains.
Right.
And as I say again, I'll die on that hill, Falcons fans. It's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, rushing, the Saints were 3.6 yards per rush. That's 30th in the league.
Yeah.
And, that's why they didn't go farther than they did. And it's going to be interesting to see how that develops this year with the pieces they picked up and with the new offensive coordinator. So, got a few other comments. Let's see. Wallace Smith. Yeah, Mr. Tom, I know that you didn't like the Penix pick. Wallace, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about that most of the year. That's all right, my friend. Always happy to hear from you. Todd what is your take on, he's talking about Lake. Seems to have had an up and down career. He is friends with the head coach, but will it be a downgrade from last year? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure it's a downgrade from last year. I think it still can be a pretty decent defense. I do have confidence in Jimmy Lake and his ability to run the defense with Raheem Morris. So don't give up on the defensive side on the ball yet, but there are holes there. There are holes at defensive back. There are holes at edge rusher. The problem is you're going to get a lot of players cut during training camp when rosters start going down. But teams don't cut guys like edge rushers. If they got a good one, they're going to keep him. If they got a good offensive lineman, they're going to keep him. You don't pick up those guys in free agency. Possible you can pick up a cornerback in free agency or a defensive back. I think DeMarcus Helms is going to take over at safety for Richie Grant. But I do think, given what they got, I do like the pick of Lake as the defensive coordinator. Going from 4-3 defense to a 3-4 is not just a matter of putting players in different spots. It's a different scheme, and I'm going to be interested to see how Grady Jarrett and Daniel Onyemata pick up this 3-4 defense as interior linemen. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Brian Friedman is my guy. All right, Brian, quarterback must go down and go down hard. Brian, you're my man. Because I agree.
That's the whole idea, right?
You know, that Denny's menu that offensive coaches carry around with them, gets a lot smaller when you got second and long, second and behind the chains, third and behind the chains, third 14, third and 15. It's tougher to pick up. That's why you can pressure a quarterback all you want, but if you don't put him down, it does nothing for you. If he gets rid of the ball out of bounds, escapes the pocket. It's all considered pressures, but it's not negative plays. Pressures are not negative plays. Sacking the quarterback is a negative play.
Yeah, you sure? You're losing that yardage and you're putting him behind the chains. That's the whole idea.
So you have got to get him. Now, Pro Football Focus thinks Arnold Ebiketie is ready to take another step up this season. I'm going to be watching for that, because if Ebiketie takes another step up, then the Falcons do a lot better as far as rushing the passer. Some guys can play with their hand in the dirt. Some guys have to start from a standing position. It's possible Ebiketie is not as effective with his hand in the dirt.
Right.
But he will be more effective as an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
All right. I will give him that. And if he is, then the Falcons have something.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe that's where his strength is,
right,
as an outside linebacker. And if it is, and you can still put pressure on the quarterback, that's then they've achieved what they were set out to do with what they had on the roster.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, Brian points out Bears got lots better with Sweat. Yeah.
They sure did.
Not only did the Bears line get a lot better, the Bears secondary got a lot better.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson both upped their games once Montez Sweat was playing defensive end.
Yeah.
It made a big difference. And that's kind of what I'm looking for with the Falcons. Somebody who's going to disrupt and make things difficult and make your cornerbacks better, because that makes your cornerbacks better. Wallace says pressures are just as good. That leads to sacks and causes the quarterback to make a mistake. Pressures are not just as good, because pressures mean that you didn't get the quarterback. Sometimes you can pressure a quarterback into a mistake and have him throw an interception. Yeah, that is possible. But it's not as good, because what a pressure means is it's not a quarterback hit. It's not a quarterback knockdown. It's not a sack. All right, the quarterback still escaped the pocket. And that's what a pressure is. That's all you're looking at, is he escaped the pocket. He probably went around in, could have gotten a first down, could have thrown the ball out of bounds. live to fight another day. I am not a fan of pressures. Finish the play. Put the quarterback down. Ebiketie got a lot of pressures last year. Did not finish. I want to see Ebiketie finish this year.
Yeah, and there's a difference. I think there's a difference when it comes with pressures. If your pressures are against a pocket passer, so if your pressure goes in the pocket passer, you're going to get more sacks in when you pressure and then get him in, sack him right there. But if you are pressuring a mobile quarterback, they're just going to run around and they're going to make the play. If you're going to pressure a Patrick Mahomes, he'll figure out a way to get around and throw the ball. He has to get sacked. That's the key. You sack him, he can't go anywhere. It stops the play, stops it dead. Now they can't move anywhere, and you've got a loss of downs, or they lose yardage. But if you pressure too much and you get them outside the pocket where they can run and make a play, you've defeated your purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I get you.
Yeah. You've got to sack that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for that. Braylon Trice, we're going to see how he adapts to the Falcons defense. If he, as a draft pick, I think third round was Braylon Trice, and can he make a difference in this in the way it goes? So, Wanda, we are out of time.
All right.
It's amazing, isn't it, how fast these Saturday can go?
Yeah.
But before we go, I do want to mention again, support the shows, support the channel, download Prize Picks. It's the best fantasy game on the market. They will match up to $100 of your first deposit. So join up, support the channel. The channel is now over 3,000 subscribers. So the next big goal is 3.5.
There you go.
3.5. But keep supporting the show. Keep supporting me and Wanda. We enjoy doing this for you on Saturdays.
You sure do.
And so remember, use the promo code ASU. That tells you tells Prize Picks where you heard of them. So always use the promo code ASU. Again, a lot of fun talking about the two top teams in the division and where the Falcons are starting to line up against these guys as we get closer to training camp. And we're in July, a couple more weeks, Wanda, and the Bears are going to play the Houston Texans in the Hall of Fame game.
That's right. It's just a few weeks away. It's starting. We're going to see it, and then you've got training camp going, and this is the time to be excited.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Atlanta Falcon fans, you guys need to be excited. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree. Made a lot of great moves this year, and we will see how things go moving forward. Wallace, I do appreciate it. Great content today. We are very happy to hear that.
We sure are.
Glad you enjoyed the show. And Wanda, good having you back. And we'll see. I don't have a topic for next week, but we'll see what happens coming up. See what news hits during the week. And we'll go from there. Everybody have a great week, and we will talk to you next Saturday.
All right. See you guys.